Hello, John Vandervelden here for my 8th virtual authors event. If you've been following along, we kind of cover one subject and try to hold it to about 10 minutes. And so I think that's what we'll be doing today. Today I thought we'd talk about, or at least give you a glimpse into, the part of my life that I would say is the writing portion. Interesting question came up at my last authors event, in-person authors event that is, and that was, when do I write? And each writer can answer that differently, each author, and it would depend upon their life and what their priorities are and so many different things. And my answer to that was, I write when I can. It's not necessarily a specific schedule for me. It's I write when I can. And what that says is that when my world isn't going crazy at the moment, or other obligations don't demand me, I have a few minutes or a half hour or something, I have the opportunity to write. But it also says that when those opportunities arrive, I do write. And so that overall, depending on how my schedule and what is happening, it may be a half hour, 40 minutes in a day, it may be an hour, it may be a couple hours during a day. I started waking up about a half hour early so that I had a little time in the morning, so that nearly every day I can abuse the keyboard. And if you've seen me working there, you would say that's fairly accurate. John is not a good keyboardist. Years ago we used to call it typist. I remember in high school my typing teacher, Mrs. Hughes, she had to be a saint because she had to put up with how terrible I was in typing class. And I passed typing. It wasn't a good grade because my fingers are very clumsy, and they still are. And I find that keyboards are a little too small for my fingers, and I'm always ending up catching an extra key. Like there isn't a 3 in the, for instance, or something like that. Or if the word is split between 2 hands, the letters don't necessarily go on the screen in the order they should. One hand runs ahead of the other. But it doesn't matter. I have a word processor, and it makes the world a lot better for me as an author, as a writer. But for you to take a book like Misty Creek or Elizabeth's Journey, the 2 books that I have released and published, or these stories that I'm working on now, it takes time to write. It takes time to think about writing. And that's the other part of my writing life. And that is, it's more than the time abusing the keyboard. It's more than linking words together and stretching out sentences. There is the time that you spend thinking about a project. Your mind is working on something, sometimes not even without you knowing it, that it is, but it is. Sometimes writing includes a short walk. Sometimes it's a bit of daydreaming. And sometimes when you're least expected, some image or phrase or sentence comes to your mind, and you try to find a piece of paper or something to scrape it down on, because you're afraid that if you wait until you get home to where the computer is, that thought will be gone. And sometimes those come late at night. But writing is also, or requires reading. And so that's part of your time too, if you're an author. is reading. And you read material that are books that are in your genre, stories that are in your genre, and stories that aren't. And you read more than just to read the story. You look at the tools, which are the words and the way they're laid out, that authors use, that perhaps there's something in there that you could learn. You sometimes find their weaknesses. And when you point them out to your beloved, she says, John, just read the story. And I said, but you don't understand. I'm learning. I'm learning from reading this story. This is a bestseller. I don't ever expect to be a bestseller. And this is a bestseller. And I didn't realize you could get away with hanging a preposition on the end of a sentence. Something like that. So you go to the keyboard, you fire up the machine, you bring up where you've left off, and then you write. Now, I'm told I should never go back over it until you get to the revision process. But as many red marks as my word processor puts on the page, that doesn't happen either. So you'll write a paragraph, and you'll go back and you'll look at it and you'll see, well, this is misspelled, or this is a wrong form of this word, or I hit the wrong button for the punctuation, or something, And so then you read through the paragraph and you'll make some slight changes. I had a discussion with another writer that says, well, you should never do that, because you're making your mind shift gears, which is probably true. But my mind seems to have a synchronous transmission, so it can shift all at once. So I do. I always tell people, as difficult it is for me to write the first draft, that in some ways it's already the third by the time I get the first draft done. Because I will go through whole sections of it, and at the end of an afternoon, I say, well, I want to hear what this sounds like. And whether that's, I had a writer that was much more clever, a much better writer than I am in my writers group. Tremendous power of language. And I told this other author that when I write, I'm concerned about the way it sounds. And that author looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Sounds? Yes. I'll read it out loud. I want to hear how it sounds. I want to feel the words off my tongue. And I haven't written as much as in the past for the sound, because I used to write essays and short stories, and I aimed for like the music of the words. It's poetry, I guess. And I don't write much poetry. But I feel there should be a music in the words. And sometimes I read stories where there is music in the words. And those stories delight me. They absolutely delight me. And I'm sure that my stories are not that musical, not that beautiful. They're simple stories. But I work at them. And we have just about used up our time for today. And if I have a little time this afternoon, and I'm not sure I will, the computer's waiting. The page is booted up. It's waiting for me to add a few lines and a few paragraphs. Because I'm working on a story now. I'm 215 pages into a standalone titled Severed Ties. And it's what I call my dead period writing, which is what I write when the main project, which is a book I will begin to revise next month. When I'm between that project and have a a few weeks when I can't work on it, and I've spoken of this before, then I pick up one work or another and add something to it. Since the middle of May, I have added 140 pages to Severed Ties. And so I'm going to be upset when I have to set it down next month when I have to work on the book that I'm working on. The next one I hope to have published. But if I don't set it down, that next book is going to be too far along or too many months before it can be ready to go. Anyway, so that's where I am. And that's just a little bit of a glimpse into the writing portion of my life. I hope you're enjoying these videos, and I hope that you are well. God bless you, and have a great week.